Plugged in now. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. I know it does say live. That's good. Bruce has got a plan, which is a good thing.
You can't tell him though.
I can't tell him. I won't tell him. I won't tell him. It's a secret.
Keep
Bruce's
my
plan. Really, it's gone nuts around the world, and I don't quite really understand why, because it's pointless. And Paris, the air show, is full, absolutely stuffed full of urban air mobility announcements. So it plainly is the future. I wonder. Let's draw a line in the sand, as I like to do. I wonder if this year is the end of it, of AAM and UAM, i.e., reality will set in, because promises being made this year, especially promises about flying next year at the Paris Olympics. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. There might be some flights of 100 meters down a bit of tarmac or over a road or something like that. But I
with the man carrying a red flag in front of the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I cannot see it. I cannot. Hello there, and hello Johnny. Hello MTV1 Geo, Mark and Cliff. Yeah, I cannot see it happening. Why am I so? Am I going to be proved utterly wrong next year though?
Well,
I don't think so.
Here's an interesting one. So, has anyone seen the YASA training paperwork, course yet? Has anyone seen that for these urban air mobility vehicles? Because the FAA only 2 weeks ago they announced, we need to sort out some training for this. We've got to work out what they're going to have. If the FAA has only just clicked on, and everyone's been banging on about these aircraft for how long now? When did they start to appear? How long ago?
Well, they haven't actually appeared, have they? Per se.
Well, no, how long
it depends what the definition of appeared is, isn't it? Yeah, a serviceable use of. But I think there's a super. Sorry, I'm ranting. I'm a bit ranty about this, but let me get this in because I think there's a super interesting parallel. Let me get the slide up. Oh, hello.
Show helicopters
changed. It's this. Where's what I want? Where is it? This one. I think this is a super interesting parallel to the world of AAM and UAM. That in this submarine that's gone down in the Titanic, it uses a Logitech gamepad for steering. I suppose that in itself isn't so bad, but it's the admission that they've.
It's a 10-year-old design that gamepad. It's not contemporary.
Yeah, but it's sold out
yeah.
because it sells out within minutes. But they've also used light bars from trucks and bits of tube and this and that and the other, and apparently have a huge aversion to safety. Every time somebody says that's not the safe way of doing things with submarines, and submarines. I think we all realise that's not the thing you half-ass about, is it? Really?
Yeah, but submarines don't fall on people's heads.
No, well.
But the interesting thing is that the amount of money, time, and effort going into recovering that represents far more than is involved when a drone is seen at the end of a runway.
Yeah, well, obviously there's people on board, but I don't know. I mean, you've got to be a special kind of confident in.
He's an ex-astronaut. You think he would know about safety?
Yeah.
And the importance thereof, checking. It's interesting craft though. I read it's got 4 or 5 inch thick carbon fiber tube. It's got to be pretty strong. But the even funnier thing is there's a window in the front where you can look out, right? That's also the toilet. So you sit there, close the curtain to do your things, and someone plays loud music. But if you want to look out at the thing outside, you've got to sit on the toilet, basically. It's quite humorous.
Yeah, obviously this is a very, very sad story, and hopefully, because I think they'll be out of air by now, won't they? It's something like that.
They've got quite a bit of air left. I think it's another day or two. But the problem is that even if they manage to surface, it cannot be opened from the inside. So they could suffocate on the surface. It's actually bolted from the outside. So they've got to find them once they surface. They may already have surfaced. No one knows where they are because who knows, their radio system may have failed, whatever. So it is many, many perils involved in this. There wasn't any real sensible attitude.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, I just thought here is somebody driving through a technology that wasn't really quite ready, and they've ignored numerous maritime things. 40 hours of air, says MTV1 Geo, and Evening Mac. Need to send us some marine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know an old lady swallowed a
Yeah.
fly.
I think they had 90 hours altogether, so they're probably under 40 now. And
Yeah.
but the bigger thing, the most worrying thing is that it's heated, and if the power system has failed, they'll just freeze to death long before they suffocate if they're still down there.
Shit. God.
It's not even. It's not even worth thinking of the way. Sadly, the ways that it could end for them, it's just not worth thinking about. I mean, to go down to the Titanic, to put it in perspective, the Titanic is 4 kilometers below. The sea pressure at that depth is about 5,000 square meter pressure. So it is absolutely incredible pressure down there. And it's 4 kilometers down. People don't quite get that. It is a long way.
And the interesting thing is, this is a kind of mission that is better done by drone, unmanned craft. You don't need to have people in there. They're just voyeurs going down to say, I wouldn't go down there just to see a sunk ship. I mean, it's just a whole lot of scrap metal, and so it's an unnecessary mission, and it could have been done with cameras and unmanned craft, as has been done before, completely safely. So again, it shows if we replace manned exploration, even of the planets. I mean, when you're sending drones to Mars, we don't need to put ourselves in danger. This is where the whole safety factor of drones come in, by reducing the risk to man, by replacing manned activities. We're making the world safer.
Well, I must admit, I'm slightly ashamed to admit that when I first saw submarine gone missing, I immediately thought, oh, it's an unmanned thing. Why are they fussing about it? I didn't realize, I didn't think anyone would be that quite foolish, really, to go down and do that. I honestly thought it was an unmanned one that got itself, or uncrewed, I should say now, got itself caught up in the thing. But I'm sure that's going to have big impact on urban air mobility and AAM, whatever we want to call it, in the rollout of that, because people are going to say, but what about that? Have you considered the safety factors? Look, they only use the gamepad, because let's face it, a lot of those AAM vehicles are a little more than that, just a bigger curvier screen and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder, maybe the sub's lithium batteries caught fire. I mean, lithium batteries, we're all using lithium batteries, and this is their big weak point. I mean, I don't want to be caught in a flaming wreck 500 feet above the ground with no way of escape. And you look at,
or even coming down under a ballistic parachute with all
the shroud of death.
Shroud of death. Evening, Johnny and Peppermint. Everyone's joined us lately. Anyway, here on the Happy Channel, as Bruce says, Shroud of Death. That's right.
We won't call them AAMs, we'll call them death copters.
Death copters, yes. I think that was mentioned last week, wasn't it? But I think I have a hunch. Well, maybe next year Farmer will be the last year.
Gary, a good tailor, and it'll never show.
I just don't see how they can be profitable. UAMs, urban air mobility aircraft, I just don't see how they can be profitable, because helicopters have been doing this for years, flying in and out of cities. They have been urban air mobility for years. Yes, they are big, and yes, they are noisy, but these things aren't going to be quiet. When you've got a couple of tons in the air.
But no aircraft's quiet. No aviation is quiet. Helicopters aren't quiet. But the thing is that the people putting money into these ventures at the moment, they don't care. They don't care if it's going to succeed or not. They have a plan. They make their money, whether it succeeds or not. And I'm going to be disclosing that very shortly, that this isn't about, look at the Martin jetpack. It was never going to fly, but a lot of people made a lot of money out of the Martin jetpack. Investors made a lot of money, walked away with their pockets full, even though they knew it would not fly, would never be a commercial success, because venture capital isn't about making successful products. It's about making money. And that's what people forget. These people aren't investing on the basis that we want to fill the sky with air taxis. They're investing on the basis that we want to walk away with big fat wallets, and they've got a plan to do it.
True enough. Well, I predict that this year or next year, I can't see the hope being there next year at Farnborough. I can't see it lasting another year.
So this is like the year of this is like the year of the paperless office and the year of the network.
Yes, I suppose so. And then, but what will come out of Farnborough next year will be loads of things for lifting bullets, bandages, and beans in places like Ukraine and stuff like that. That's what's missing from this year's
DJI Mavics, you mean?
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, that sort of a thing. But it looks like America's really trying its best to have a poke from multiple avenues now at stopping DJI over there, which is still just an amazingly arrogant assumption that they can
It's
beat
interesting.
and are better.
Is DJI trying to curry favor with the US government? Because if you go out today and buy a DJI Mini 3 sub 250 gram drone in America, it doesn't have to have remote ID. Legally, there's no requirement for remote ID, but it does have it, and you can't turn it off. So you don't have the choice. You buy a sub 250 and it's going to broadcast remote ID whether you want it or not. And I asked DJI on Twitter, why are you doing this? Why are you forcing remote ID on people that don't legally have to use it? And they said that they could use it because they could use it for Part 107, and then it would need remote ID. But I would say that's not DJI's concern. That is the concern of the operator. If the operator chooses to use it for Part 107, then they should be able to enable remote ID or for the broadcast transmitter or whatever. But they should have the freedom to use their sub 250 gram drone legally without remote ID. And DJI has denied them that, which is further proof that when you buy a drone from DJI, you don't actually own the damn thing. DJI owns all the drones. You just get to use it sometimes if they say it's okay to.
We own all the drones. Yeah, it's, well, I mean, that's the model that cars and things are going, isn't it? I mean, it's not that unusual a model. But yeah, it's a selling point. People are desperate now, desperate to have that rid because they're worried, and it's a selling point. Lynn even got an order for 100.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm just going to blow them out of the water as a complete and utter joke. An example of how investors are going to walk away with pockets full of money, and the people who buy the shares are left with nothing but a hole in the ground. Exactly what Lilium's going to do. It's been debunked from a engineering and scientific perspective. Even Lilium admit it's not going to be viable until we have a new generation of battery technology, which doesn't exist yet. So why are people putting money into these things, and why are people ordering them? It's crazy. It's like that Sea Glider, the company that in New Zealand that plans to run these Sea Gliders.
Nice, doesn't it?
It's a model. All I've got is a model, an RC model at this stage. And this company's put $1 million deposit. New Zealand companies put $1 million deposit down to buy all these Sea Gliders that are going to provide these services at prices which actually are not that much different to a regular airplane. So why would you bother? It's so many people caught up in the smoke and mirrors and the illusion that is being created by these companies or these investors that want to walk away with pockets full.
Well,
yeah,
it just amazes me how these people find these investors, because I must admit, I've got the delivery rover, but finding investors, finding help can be, I never knew it would be so hard. Good idea.
A number of press releases and noise and suits you wear, but that I thought was one of the better hopes for this whole thing, because there's a very, very good company, a really nice company, and I thought that was a sensible, better hope, and even they've stopped.
Well, they've acknowledged that the technology just isn't there yet. It's just not. The current battery technology is not adequate. The energy density of lithium-ion batteries is so much lower than regular Jet A1 or avgas, and the turnaround times. The big problem is recharging these things. You can't use them commercially in any way, shape, or form, and the risks are high. And you can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to charge up my plane and leave it in the hangar charged," because the batteries will degrade very quickly if they're left fully charged. You can leave them on a storage charge, which means if you want to use it, you got to wait until the damn thing's charged up. And so, if you want to go out on a Sunday morning and fly your plane, you've got to either fast charge it and wait an hour, and therefore reduce the life of the battery by a significant amount, or you've got to anticipate. Plan ahead, whereas with a regular aircraft, you go out, put gas in the tanks, and away you go. Yeah, that's it. So everyone's hyping up the positives, but nobody's willing to acknowledge the huge negatives, which are holding it back, and will do until we get better batteries.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show with battery tech, although it's come a long way, it's still very limited. Don't get me wrong, it's good for a car, it's good for a van, it'll even do a lorry, but as soon as you want to do serious work like a plane or an aircraft, hang on a minute, it's a different ball game now. You're entering a different turf.
Yeah, and if you notice, battery technology only changes it out every 25 to 30 years. We had NiCad batteries, then we had nickel metal hydride, then we had lithium, and we're still at least 15 years away from the next battery tech.
Yeah. You'll remember this, you guys remember this. So NiCads were really good, if you remember. So you could really, you pelt the power into them. they'll give a really good punch, but they just did that.
Yeah, that wasn't even the problem. It was the energy density. They're so heavy for the amount of energy
They were heavy. Yeah, that's what I remember. Big heavy
Well,
thing.
nickel metal hydrogen, NMIH,
NMIH,
yeah, they were interesting because they didn't drop off as bad, if I remember correctly. Someone's going to tell me that I'm wrong now.
Yeah, they had a more progressive
Yeah.
battery discharge curve, but also they were much lighter for the same amount of energy storage.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you can see the change there. It was quite interesting.
And they didn't suffer from voltage depression. NiCads, if you charged and used them the same down to, say, 50% of the discharge, then they would lose capacity, whereas nickel metal hydride didn't do that. So that was, each generation builds on the previous and offers extra benefits. Lithium's benefit is that the massive energy density compared to earlier batteries, but the downside is they are more dangerous from a fire perspective, and they still don't have energy densities that are anywhere near close enough for aviation use.
Yeah.
My chum has his latest VTOL uses 4 kilowatts of batteries. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
And we're talking unmanned here, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. But even that, so that's unmanned, and it's, you know, in the big scheme of things, it's small, but it's 4 kilowatts.
It's as much as the battery in some hybrids.
Yeah,
it's hybrid cars. Yeah.
It is bonkers when you get. I mean, is that VTOL all electric then? Is it an all electric one? Is it a petrol engine as well?
All electric.
Yeah. So, and it is bonkers when you start going. And you know, you got the VTOLs, but they're all electric. You know, and it's just crazy. And then people go, "Oh, you can fly these anyway." You're going, "Yeah, you got a generator for me to charge these because it's going to take a while."
And you're using petrol.
That's exactly it. You use and using petrol, or you could be using solar, couldn't you? But you might be using an entire region that's cut off from a national grid of any sort. You might be using their entire elastic trickery to charge your machine, and I've known that to happen with smaller machines. And entire islands power was used to charge it. So yeah, it is crazy.
And then they come along and they go, "Oh, urban air mobility, and we're going to put all these pads in and everything." Do they realise how hard it is to put a car charger in? So when you put
I've
charger,
personally, I've owned a Vertiport now for multiple years, and I'm still waiting for anyone.
But the traffic to that has doubled in the last week alone, hasn't it, Gary?
It has doubled. Yes, we've seen a 5-fold increase. Yes, of nothing. Yeah, and actually, I will admit I have started putting some trees in the middle of it. But there we are. But it's okay because the newer machines will be far more accurate and able to land in a much tighter spot. But you've only got to do that sort of thought process, whatever the business people call it, of thinking down, well, what would I need to do if I wanted to make this piece of land suitable for this? What would I need to do? And it's pretty horrifying when you start adding it all up. And especially now they've said the FAA have said it's got to be the official helipad dimensions for helicopters. Because then you're into needing 150-foot obstruction zones and this, that, and all the other.
Yep. And remember, to be useful, there's going to have to be room to have several of them parked, because once they've landed, they've got to recharge. And if it takes up the whole vertiport, then the vertiport's no longer able to be used.
Yeah. Do you know, right? I've just realised something. There's a couple of places where this would really help certain businesses if they did it right. And that is, there's quite a few nice hotels around the country here in the UK, and they all have helipads, and I'm sure that it exists also in other countries. You know, you've got nice big posh country park, nice, and they have helipads. I've been to a few, and I always go to reception and go, "Are you due a helicopter in today?" And they go, "Yes, we've got one coming at 11 o'clock," kind of thing. And then you just make sure you're not flying in that time span when I'm expecting it, 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after kind of thing. Or it just sits there and then I go fly. And if it starts to spin up again, because you'll hear it land.
So what you're telling us is that there is a rapid urban mobility system available and that people use it, but not that often.
Yes.
So if we take something like a helicopter, which is already being used, and we decide to, I don't know, reduce its range by about 80%,
Yes.
remove any kind of safe auto rotation capability,
Yes.
and make it take 6 times longer to refuel, it's
Yes.
going to be a commercial success.
Exactly. And that, of course, these hotels don't have the charging system for these yet, where the helicopter, because it's got the range, will be able to land and will be able to go again, where these
Go again.
UAM aircraft are going to be able to land and just sit there while someone gets an extension lead and a 13-amp plug for a couple of days to charge it up.
Because the
No,
other thing is,
man.
unlike wheeled vehicles, having the battery removable, which is what some people have suggested, is not a really viable option, because the battery will be a stressed part of the airframe for weight reasons, because you can't afford to have the extra weight of removable batteries and the packaging and the fact that you then have to build a strong frame around it and attachment points. That's going to further reduce the flight duration and load capacity of the aircraft. So everything works against you. And I see that Wolf's put something here. Wolf put a thing saying Daimler will be delivering the Actros charging at 1,000 kilowatts and a 700 kilowatt battery in 30 minutes. Yeah, you can fast charge most of these batteries, but you really kill their lifespan if you do. That's why electric vehicles, you've got Teslas that have got over 200,000 miles on them, because they're slow charged most of the time. If you fast charge it all the time, the battery will not last very long at all. And a lot of the new emerging battery technologies we've seen, you see in the science-wise, this new battery is 3 times as energy dense as lithium, and it can deliver more charge, can be charged in 20 minutes, but it only has 30 charge cycles before it's stuffed. There's always something, and it's always a trade-off between how quickly you can charge it and how long that damn thing's going to last. And you've got to realize that if you've got a $150,000 battery in an urban mobility vehicle and it lasts 100 charges, then that's $1,500 a flight. You can't. That's a lot cheap, a lot more expensive than avgas.
But here's the other big thing, so they're going to put this big charger in. So you're going to put this big charger right in this urban air mobility area. The problem is, and this is the biggest problem, is actually getting that power line into that property. You'd think it'd be very easy, wouldn't you, just to lay a line, connect it to the grid, jobs are good. It's not that easy in the UK. I don't know about the rest of the world, but the paperwork is horrendous. There are still Tesla stations that have been built here, and they can't get the rights to lay the power to connect the stuff up. You'll get 3-phase power to a property. That's not typically a problem. However, you want some real grunt, like to do these big charging tasks, forget it. You're in for
you're into years, aren't you?
Will pay. You better
just
have
wait.
Paperwork 2 years ago, because even now they'll still be going, we can't do it yet. The grid can't handle what you're wanting in your area. There's going to be a £200,000 upgrade. Do you want to pay for that, please? Come on, give us some money.
Yeah. But just you wait, and someone will come out with a revolutionary idea. They're going to put solar panels on the top of these urban air mobility vehicles, so they will self-charge it. It'll extend their range, and they can be charged in remote locations. And some other investors will throw millions at it, because it doesn't have to work. It only has to sound good.
Well, Louis onto his patent, and he's absolutely right about feet and legs patented for urban air mobility. And he's quite right when he says that he will get that patent through, because you seems like in America you can get anything through, and it's a novel new use.
But you will have to wear one of those ankle bracelets with the GPS for remote ID.
Remote ID.
Is Louis' idea pedal power? So we're going to pedal power these?
No, that's another one. No, don't stop. No, that's another one.
Confuse.
That's another one.
That's another application.
And
I've just thought of another thing. So they want urban air mobility into cities and everything, don't they? And they want to land them on skyscrapers and everything. Just think, the people in the gym below it, they'll be able to, on their exercise machines, they'll be able to charge it for you. Oh, there's another idea. Sorry,
you're full of it.
My vertiport is on top of a hill, so I'm just going to let them take the brakes off, and they can roll to the bottom
bump
of the hill
start,
and charge them as or bump start,
regenerative braking.
Regenerative braking as they go down the hill, exactly, and take off from down the bottom. And she's bought an e-bike with 130. Yeah, I keep seeing those electric cargo bikes that look pretty amazing for $1,400. Yeah, and that's not really taken. The micromobility is not really rushing to arrive. It's arriving, but it's not without its problems, and that's pretty jolly simple technology if you think about it. Putting stuff into the air never works, but I'm still convinced there'll be sizable delivery drones in the next 5 years.
Yeah, but they'll be airport to airport, and
they will. Absolutely, yeah. They won't be business to business.
So they're really cargo drones. They don't really deliver. They just take from point to point, and then the van comes and picks stuff up and delivers it.
Yeah. I can see that happening way before. And again, next year, because next year at Farmer is going to be the year of, you could have used this in Ukraine. You could have used that in Ukraine. Look. We have.
What did you see? Did you see Airbus is now working on an AI landing system for their airliners?
Yes.
Yes, it's going to use artificial intelligence to land when the pilot is, I don't know, busy having a pee or something. And so you don't need ILS or all that sort of stuff, all the fancy automated precision landing gear. It'll work it out and land itself, and it's got cameras and all that sort of stuff, just like a Tesla, really.
I really don't want to trust AI to land. I've seen AI in action. AI is really stupid. And I mean, it is so stupid. It always makes me smile when you see these news stories going, AI will attack humans or kill humans or replace, come out of its box to get us all. The problem is with AI.
Hot off the press a couple of seconds ago. Let me add it. AI
is so stupid, right? The way it's trained is there's three of us here on camera. So if you said that I'm a human to the AI,
there you are. I just posted it.
Fantastic!
What could possibly go wrong?
Is that a GoPro Hero 6 there in the front?
Yeah, it's something like that, isn't it?
But I mean, well, here's the thing: if you train AI that I am a human, for example, you go, this is what a human looks like. You train it on me, this ugly mug, right? The thing is, the AI, if it came across you two, it would go, hang on a minute, Gary, hang on a minute, he's got this stuff up here and he's got this here. I don't think he's human. No, he's not human. So Gary wouldn't be considered human, right? And then it look at Bruce, and it would then go, well, hang on a minute, he's got this thing around his face here, although he's got the bald bit, he's a bit more bald, and the AI would go, Bruce isn't human either. It would only want to actually kill me. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good thing.
If you put on even if you put a onesie on, as soon as AI comes at us all, put a onesie on with the ears look like a Pikachu or something stupid, or a cat or a dog, it'll go, no, you're not human. I'm not going to kill you because just because it can't tell what's real and not real. It's not smart enough yet by a country mile. Don't get me wrong. It might get here in 1,000 years, but it ain't coming anytime soon in my eyes.
The name, artificial.
The problem is it gives the illusion that it's better than it is. It makes so many mistakes. Then it doesn't realize it's made mistakes. And that's where the problem lies. If you or I make a mistake, we can spot it and sort it. But AI, and it's going to get worse because there's so much AI content going online at the moment that the next training session will be AI teaching itself. So any bad feedback will be a positive feedback loop, and it'll just amplify the level of error. And so I think we've reached peak AI in terms of generative AI and ChatGPT. It's now as good as it's ever going to be, because from this point onward, it's going to be trained on its own material, and it's going to degrade if we're not very careful. There's no mandate to have a AI meta tag on content that's created by AI, which is what we have to do if we want to make sure it continues to improve.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a post-truth world, isn't it? It's a post-truth world. It makes. Oh, let's ask Gail what is. All right, Louis.
A woman is any computer that identifies as a woman.
No, you ask ChatGPT.
Do I want to go down this rabbit hole?
I'm sorry, did I woke you?
Yeah, well, this is going to end up badly, isn't it? But he's
go woke, go broke.
Well, the thing is, if you ask ChatGPT a question, the problem is it's all based on 2-year-old technology.
Not barred. Not bad. Can I patent legs and feet?
No, it's a natural feature. Too much prior art.
Think about it.
You cannot patent legs and feet in natural form. You can patent a new design for a prosthetic leg. Oh, there we are. All right then.
Okay.
Okay. All right then.
Right,
So that
Louis?
was a gentle.
So
What is,
legs with
woman?
propellers.
What is a woman? Oh God!
Is that what Louis asked? I can't remember. Complex and evolving one. That's a good.
No,
That's
in other
a
words,
good answer.
cover all the bases.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Cultural expectations, personal experiences.
It used to be
There
really
we are.
simple. Check for the presence of an X chromosome and a Y chromosome.
Oh, I did. Oh, I didn't see that Louis had put checking about legs and feet
Ask
for
it
urban
if the
America.
world is flat.
Well, let's ask it. Let's ask it.
Is the world flat?
What is urban air
Oh yeah.
mobility? You join us here on the typing channel. Well, I should have asked, will it work? Shouldn't I?
Well, you can ask it after that because it should learn what you want to know. So it learns the conversation as you go, doesn't it? So you should now then be able to go.
However, some challenges. Well, safety, regulation, and cost. That
Oh,
then
so
the truth,
oh.
isn't it?
Now ask it if it's going. Will it actually work?
Well, yes. Again, the typing channel. I don't need a question mark, do I? But I'll put it in there. I found the Bard to be completely horribly vanilla, and very, very plainly an AI. Oh, there, look, so infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Yeah. Oh, and what's interesting is I found, because they've now said it's going to need the space of a helicopter, it's going to be really interesting because so many cities in the UK just don't have the space.
Well, I thought they already set up so they had space for the Fairley Rotodyne all those years ago. That was going to be the urban mobility transport thing. It was fantastic. What a great design. What happened to that? We've had people proposing these solutions for decades and none of them have ever worked.
Pardon? What did you say about the Rotodyne? Pardon? What was that? What did you say, Bruce? What were you saying? Can you remember the incredible noise? Hello, M0 GD Echo Charlie and that thing flight. Yeah, the noise, but I mean, it was a very, very, very good idea. It was a big thing. It was just louder than the loudest thing ever.
Of course, a dozen ducted fans is going to be much quieter.
Oh yeah. I know it is because I've seen their press releases. They tell me that it is. So it's going to be, and that's that. Definitely.
And the thing is, conventional aviation is noisy, but it's confined to airfields. So the noise is it's easier to abate because you've got the inverse squeal law, meaning if you stand, the airfield's big enough and it's far enough to the fence, you can meet the noise requirements. But when you have something landing next to a primary school or a supermarket, totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
I wonder too. Also, with these, they must have to have pretty good controls over these vertiports because you know the effects of a loose canvas or even a cardboard box on a rotor system. And if you're going to be landing in an urban environment, how are you going to make sure that it's a safe landing environment?
Well, that Osprey proved that point, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, when it sucked the tarmac up.
Yeah, that Osprey proved don't land where you shouldn't.
Yeah, well, it's like a Chinook will do the same as well. Chinooks are pretty amazing at lifting and blowing stuff, yards and yards, people and things. And
it's going to be worse with these eVTOLs because instead of using a large rotor disc with a relatively low flow, they're using small discs with high flow, which is even more destructive of whatever's below.
Yeah, I really think this is the last year of the hype. They'll all start going pop.
There's another year left in it because what's going to happen is the investors who have put their hundreds of millions into these ventures, all these things are going to try and go IPO. I see that the Lilium's trying to go IPO. This is how the investors get their money out. The people who have funded these, the seed capital and the venture capital, they've put their money in. They bought the shares for 50 cents a pop. They then build it up with the press releases and the hype and smoke and mirrors. Then they hire high-profile industry figureheads to come in and man it to give the whole thing credibility. And they announce, we've got these orders. We've got 100 orders from here, there, and everywhere. And then they float it. And the gullible public come in and go, ooh, look, we're getting in on this opportunity. They basically buy the shares at $2 each. So the venture capitalists walk away with $1.50 a share profit. They're happy. They've made their fortune. And then the people that have bought the shares suddenly find, oh, my God, these promises weren't true. The orders had not been completed. The stuff doesn't fly. They walk away without their shirts.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen it so many times that Martin Jetpack, that's exactly how that played out. And so many other of these technology things where you've got a really good story and it sounds great and it's just like you've read in the comics when you're a kid. The sizzle is there.
Exactly.
No one does due diligence because the story is so good. Oh man, they want to believe. So they put their money in these Marapara investors, and institutions throw money at these things because it's the future. And and of course, we've got the bloody regulators paving the way. They're saying, oh yes, this is the future. So if you can't believe the government, who can you believe? That's why these investors have carried up to the government so much and said, we need the airspace completely changed, restructured so that these things have got somewhere to fly. Because the government's been sucked in by this, so it must be a safe investment because they've made all these highways in the sky. It's just an absolute disaster waiting to happen.
But there's no doubt we need a different way of looking at airspace and stuff, but not from this perspective. We do need a modern digital sky. We don't need a lot of all that. How rug pulls were done before we had crypto. iForce 2D. What a bit! Look, we're in the chat. Think Flight and iForce 2D. Some legendary channels here. We are not worthy. That aeroplane looked magnificent. Even with Bruce filming,
even though I was filming it, it still looked all right.
Yeah, exactly. Still looked great, even with you filming it. So it must be really good in the flesh. There's you look at it and you think, oh, I think it was a 3-meter wingspan, Chris. And I think it's you look at it and think, oh, that thing could have some purpose and be useful for something. If only it could find a way to fit into a system where it was fair and cheap for it to operate. Because there's no doubt pay to play is coming. Everyone, network ID is coming. Remote ID is just a stepping stone to what we're going to have.
The New Zealand Cabinet has approved the introduction of remote ID and registration for drones in New Zealand. It happened just last week.
And Australia's on its way.
Australia's on its way. Because, as I said in my video, people are saying, why are you concerned you don't even live in America? Because where America goes, the world follows. Apparently in the EU, I haven't verified this, but people have said that drones that are homemade and don't have GPS and therefore have no automated flight modes are exempt from the need for remote ID. And that's a sensible perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. But then there are some model planes, like there's a Horizon one that does have GPS.
Oh, yeah.
So far away it comes back for safety. Now, there's still no point in putting remote ID on that because it's going nowhere, basically.
I know. It's a Horizon model. It'll crash and boom before it gets off the ground.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. As it gets out of the box.
We're getting remote ID in the UK. It's coming 2026, right? I heard
it's coming next year. I heard they're pushing it for next year.
Which means, right, it's just BS. We're being sold it as a lie. And the thing is, if you sell it as a lie, it gets called out, right? If you're going to be honest about it, I don't have a problem with it. If you spell it as bullshit, which sorry, Gary, it's your channel. If you're going to sell it as BS, which the Americans did, and other countries are, then you deserve to be called out for everything you are. You're nothing but liars, right? If you're going to lie to us, we've got one thing for you, and it's the middle finger, of course, or you can just bugger off because it's ridiculous. It really is. But they're going to bring it in, and it'd be for fining people. Don't lie about it. Don't go, oh, it's don't lie and go, oh, it's for security, safety, or something like that, because it's BS. That's the lie to us. You lie to us like that, and we're just going to call you what you are, cockwombles.
Well, it goes like this, though. The routine goes like this now, though, doesn't it? It goes, I'm 10 years old and I want to start model flying. So I talked to my parents. It's a little bit expensive. I've saved my pennies up and I really want to do it. So now my parent has to go and get the ticket. I've forgotten the name of the ticket now. Needs to go and gets the ID and gets signed up as supervising me. And now my parent finds out that, oh, God, now we've got to get this. What's this thing? We've got to get this remote ID module. We've got to get this as well. Oh, and that's another $30, $40, $50, whatever they're going to be. And why do they want all these personal? Oh, why? What do you mean it's going to be tracking us? The conversation. You can see how short the conversation is going to be. The model glider. That's the model gliders is what I saved up to fly because I couldn't afford to fly powered. I'd still need it for that, and it's just nuts. It's just nuts, and that's the worst of it all. It's absolutely going to knock the hobby off at the knees at a lower level.
It would cripple my favorite part of the hobby, which is DLG. If I've got a 250 gram DLG, it doesn't matter how small you make that little remote ID thing, no matter how light you make it, it's still drag and weight, and I have to mount it on the outside. There's no room on the inside. It's going to destroy the performance of my glider. Why? For what reason? What am I going to do that would endanger security with a hand-launched glider? Makes no sense.
Well, here's the thing. They bang on about security. The one thing they don't mention is the security of the drone operator.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of states.
No. The FAA has said if you are attacked while flying and someone steals your stuff or stabs you or shoots you or hits you over the head, you just call the 911 and the police will come and they'll sort it out.
But they don't take liability for the problem they've caused. This is the thing. No regulator takes liability for the problem they've caused. They will just sweep that. They'll lift them. But here's the thing. So we have states of theft here for camera gear. As we all know, camera gear is very valuable. If you're on a shoot in London, you've really got to watch your kit, for example. And I mean, you've got to be on it. You literally have to pay someone to stand with your vehicle, your camera stuff. You turn it around, it will disappear under your eyes. And there's quite a few gangs that will go and do this. However, as soon as we get remote ID, and there's no escape from this, as soon as they work out which operators are flying the expensive stuff like M300s, the Inspire 3, the Mavic 3s, the M30T, as soon as you know the operator's doing that and you can get their details, you know where they're stood. It'll just take a couple of big guys just to come and rough you up and walk away with your kit.
Don't take a small guy for me.
And in America,
there's no choice about it.
In America, the lunacy that Kevin Morris spouted, that if you've had a storm and you want to go and check the roof of your house for damage, you want to use your little tiny whoop, you're going to have to get a Part 101 Part 107 certification and put remote ID on that tiny whoop just in order to see whether you've blown some tiles off your roof. Is this seriously good regulation? I don't think it is.
It's just stupidity, isn't it? 101 from a regulator. It really is. People that have no idea. I'm willing to bet if he had his house damaged, right, in a storm, and he had a little drone, his kid's little drone, I'm willing to bet he won't put remote ID on it. He'll take off and check his roof. Do you know what I mean?
Because rules are for thee, but not for me.
To say about that, he didn't want to come along unless we went through the press office, and I kind of half have there's two things I don't do. If people ask to come on, unless they're really interested in what they're doing, because generally they say I'm from PR company XYZ and we'd love our managing director, whatever, to come and I was like, nah, not interested. And similarly, when people say you've got to go through the press office, I'm like, nah, if you're not that brave, not interested. Should I go through the press office? And dear audience, dear viewer, shall I actually break my rule and go through the press office?
But then when they ask you in advance for a list of the questions you're going to be asked, tell them to stick it where the sun doesn't shine.
Well, that's all. That's why I never do these things. So I'm going to invite you along because you're going to try and do whatever it is you're going to try and do. Nah, not interested. I'm not interested. But maybe I should change that.
Yeah, just one time exemption.
Okay. All right, one time. All right, I'll ask him through. So I did ask him. He was going to come on last week, and then
he saw who was on here and decided, go to the press office, or someone else, some other mug can come along and get stripped to pieces.
Yeah, I find all that very disheartening. If you're not able to, that's what dear old Richard. I know we sort of seem very biased to him, but he will at least come on and take a ribbon from us.
Yeah. It's a man that's confident in what he's doing.
Yeah. He's not afraid to come and justify what he's doing and why he's doing it. And, he takes the stick off us, not just on air. It has to be clear. He doesn't get a release either behind the scenes. After the show, we stick around for maybe half an hour or so. It gets no easier for him.
No. And but the thing is, even though he's a ginger, he does have all the answers, and he is very good at what he does. I mean, it's not like what is it, Prince Harry?
Yeah. You're holding him to the same standard. Oh, poor Richard. I daren't say what I'm going to say. I dare not say it.
Don't say what the people from Spotify said about him.
Oh, dear.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
quite so. Him and his wife, yes.
Yeah.
No, Cliff, that's it. That in itself, reluctance to come to appear as an indicator for all we need to know. Yeah, that is always my feeling.
You can't defend the indefensible. That's the thing.
But you'll be amazed the number of times I've been told I can't miss an opportunity to talk to person X, Y, and Z, and I appear to miss an opportunity. It's like
I get the same thing
No.
because I run my blog and I have news sort of associated with that. I get all the PR agencies saying, our managing director is available for interview. And I'm thinking,
yeah,
so
great.
how does that affect me?
That's right. Yeah. So cool. You can't be saying much, then can you? If he's available for interview all the time. It's like, what?
Well, look, Gary's
Yeah.
gone all frozen again. Look at him. He looks better like that.
Oh,
I think get a screen capture, paint things on his face.
Go on, grab that
Oh,
screen.
he's back.
Good.
No, momentary.
oh dear. Yes, that'll be the interwebs here then. Yeah, no, they really can't be saying, oh, hello, Mick. When I start making my ADSB, I know it's RID now. It's your RID app that Bruce has got to make.
Yeah.
Got to catch them all like Pokemon.
No.
The RID Pokemon app.
No, it's the ADSB alarm is. I got a bit sidetracked this week with all that RID stuff, but I'm back onto it today. So,
Well, it's I don't know. And Mick works with, I think he's with Poseidon now, but he was with F-18s in the Australian Air Force. So he works with the fair income proper stuff. It's he seems to still enjoy his model aircraft and drones. I'm not sure quite how that can be legal anymore for anyone that works with real aircraft.
Did you notice? Did you notice the Australian government hasn't made a lot of noise about that consultation? Have they?
No.
No, it's like we have to, but we have to consult, but we don't have to tell you we're consulting. It's like, whoa. And also, it's been taken out of CAS's hands and put into a different government agency because I think the safety regulators realise there is no point to some of these things. And I know in New Zealand, the CAA pushed back against registration. They didn't see any safety benefit to whatsoever. So they gave the job to the Ministry of Transport. Looks like that's what's happening in Australia, and it's happened in the UK, hasn't it? The Ministry, your Ministry of Transport does the rules in the UK now?
Well,
But
no.
yes and no.
It depends how much they need to poke something. So the CAA go, these are the rules. You know, they've got all the EU regs, and then the DFT just goes. Someone's obviously talked to the DFT, you know, influence people, and then just go poking. And the CAA gets a poke from the DFT, and it's like, and the CAA goes, well, maybe not, and the DFT just goes, do it. You work for us. Just do it. Crack on.
I think as the urban air mobility people sort of go bankrupt and some bigger delivery people start arriving, and companies like Westlands are getting involved, or whatever they're called these days, are getting involved in the delivery side of things for bullets, bandages, and beans. I think there'll be a little more political pressure in the lower airspace space that's a little more grounded, pun intended, and that will start. I can see our world being moved completely out of aviation regulations. I can see it happening. It'll have to be for these systems to fly. If they have to fly under current aviation regulations, then we'll be in a lot of certification troubles. So it'll have to slide across for that reason, and just because it's nothing the same. And hopefully that will start pushing. Well, not hopefully, because I fly general aviation, but you know, general aviation's got to come to the party a little bit and can't be part of the lower airspace blocking. I think things have to change over the next 50 years. They have to. And Scott Harris, I don't. Yeah. I think. I'm with you, Scott. Yeah.
But did you see that in New Zealand, we're taking a revolutionary stance on registration of drones, though? You know, most countries it's over 250 grams. In New Zealand, only 250-gram drones will have to be registered. If it's 251, doesn't matter. 252 doesn't matter. 249 don't have to register. On the official government website, it says drones of 250 grams will have to be registered. How fantastic is that?
Excellent.
That's good. Now, attention to detail, I think Gary will agree, is the cornerstone of aviation safety. Pilots have checklists for that very reason. So they don't miss a detail like control locks. Detail is essential. So the agency that can't even pay attention to detail is going to tell us how we should do things.
That does smack of the UK CAA's paperwork at the moment.
Yeah.
They can't seem to release a single document at the moment without it containing one or two major faults. And people, of course, the small businesses, 2 or 3 drones, mum and pop operators, rely on getting their paperwork sorted every year to keep operating legally, and they do their best to do it. But if words change and, we want a capital S on that, we want a small c on this, we want this, that, the other, absolute trivia. But then that also always speaks to that an aircraft shall not fly until the paperwork exceeds the all-up weight of the aircraft.
But it kind of shows what we've been told, that the people in these positions have no relationship with aviation other than their employment. They're not, used to be CAA was filled with people who had pilot's licenses and were enthusiastic and passionate about aviation. Now you move again into other government departments where it's just a job. They don't fly aircraft. They're not interested in aircraft, but they've got to do this job, so they do it as quickly and as poorly as possible to get their salary at the end of the week.
What's quite interesting about the UK CAA is they have ex-drone operators that are in the department now. So the UAS sector, there's quite a few ex-people that have been drone operators. And I will say been drone operators.
So they failed at it.
I'm not saying that. You said that, Bruce. I'm saying nothing more. Don't get me wrong, right? There's some really nice people in the UAS sector at the CAA. I will say that much. I've met a few of them. They're very nice. That's about as far as I can go in that direction. However, what's interesting is at the minute, because I'm in one of the UK OSC groups, we have a special group for OSC holders, and we are the people that have exemptions beyond the norm. So people that can fly heavier rigs, swarms, reduced distances.
So you're special.
So we're in so many different ways. We're a bunch of crackpots. So what's interesting is one of them today. So it seems that despite CAP 722A, now it basically specifically stated it's not prescriptive. So it's a kind of like, it is just a guide for you. It's not prescriptive. However, the CAA are now treating it as it is just the whole of 722A is now prescriptive. It's like, that's, you know what I mean? It's no longer guidance, but it says in CAP 722A, it's guidance.
It's guidance, yes.
But now they say it's just, they keep changing the rules at the minute so much, and what they want and what's coming and everything. It's just, it is so hard at the minute. I mean,
I'm just looking for something. Cliff's in danger of needing a red
I've
card.
got the red card here somewhere. Where is it? I've misplaced the red. I've used it so much I've worn it out.
I'm sure you've been here before, Cliff.
The red battery pack will have to do.
We can't have sensible comments here. You're exactly right.
How long do you think it takes for an OSC to get approved? So if you want to reduce distances, for example, or a swarm, how long do you think it would take a business to get that through the CAA?
No, ages.
What, 2 months? A month?
Couple of days, mate.
2 months? 3 months? 4 months? 5 months? 6 months? 7 months? 8 months? 9 months? Now, if you're trying to run a business and you're trying to do everything, the one thing the CAA doesn't seem to understand is that a business is running and it has costs that it must keep going with. So it's asked for this permission so it can make its business better, or is renewing them. And you're looking for a timely response and timely things. However, they don't have no SLA for this stuff. There's no SLA. If you want to change your OSC,
I don't know what SLA means.
So there's no time agreement. You've got no time. There's not a set period of time.
Service level agreement.
Yeah, service time agreement. Yeah. So if you want something changing, let's say you've got reduced distances down to 20 meters and you want to go down to 10 meters, for example, and you put in a change. So you put in just a little change and you send it to them. You would think that'd be quite quick. You'd think there'd be some sort of time agreement, but there isn't one. It could sit on the desk for 3 months. It might sit there for 2 months. It might sit there for a month if you're lucky. And then they'll come back with feedback. and then you've got a list of changes a mile long to do that have discovered that everything they've told you before is wrong. So last year everything was wrong. So now you've got to do the new stuff, which is a new way of doing stuff, and it's just.
It's the same all over the world, though. In New Zealand, CAA's it's the certification of Part 102 operators. It's now so long that people have given up waiting, and it's because they impose such huge regulatory burdens on something that's relatively low risk intrinsically, and it should be straightforward. But because they pile all these regulations on, to do anything, you're mired in red tape.
Oh, I did discover something interesting. So I don't know how true. So someone who's got a 107 or waiver like this might be able to correct me. But I was told someone that I was speaking to who's got a swarm permission in the USA. So they've got the waiver for a swarm in the USA. It lasts 4 years before they have to renew it. And I thought, hang on a minute, that's quite good. Well, that makes sense. A 4-year permission. That I thought was really good. And then I thought, hang on a minute. How quick is mine before I've got to do it all again?
If you like Barton, what have you got in mind, Barton? You put it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Scott's saying CA needs to dissolve the stuff to LSA or LMA. The LMA refused years ago, before 722 became a thing. They deliberately kept they were asked. The LMA were asked to run it. And they said, no, we're going to keep doing what we. Thanks. We're delighted. We're honoured that you asked, but we're going to keep doing our own thing. It is a pity it didn't go, but I think it was fair play to them for doing that, for taking that stance.
There's the problem. Why isn't the drone industry / community set up its own self-regulatory body and people sign up and have the power of numbers and the unified voice? It's not happening.
No, well, we have.
Well, because it's always individuals that want to stand up, and because they've got a business prerogative that they want to drive forward, and rather than the greater good, they drive forward their agendas, and woe betide anyone else that gets in their way. The UK's got a brilliant one for that, and we have here as well. Really expert at not getting stuff done for everybody, really getting it done for them.
We do have an association in the UK for the commercial operators. We do actually have one. It's called AAM.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, where is that guy? James, is it?
Don't think he's on it anymore. But it's
I think
they really do. They really do self-serve.
All these bodies. You look at the AMA in America; it's self-serving. It is basically sold the hobby down the away because it wanted to have this privilege to have freers and all that sort of crap, and it's coming back to bite them on the bum. I would not be surprised. I mean, what are we now? It's they say they're going to start issuing freers in August, but all the ones that have been applied for so far have been declined for sometimes quite specious grounds. So no freers have been. Even the AMA headquarters in Muncie, Indiana, hasn't got freer status, and we're 3 months out, less than 3 months out from the deadline when things. I wouldn't be surprised to see that come September 16th, a huge swathe of AMA clubs are not freers. Therefore, if their members want to fly, they're going to go out and buy a remote ID module and put it on their models. Then the FAA can turn around and say, we don't see the need for freers anymore because all the modelers already have remote ID. So we're just, we're not going to bother prioritizing. Although in the reauthorization bill, they say giving freer allocation a priority. It doesn't say a high priority. It just says a priority, and that could be a low priority. So I wouldn't be surprised if the AMA finds itself in a situation where the rollout of freers is very, very slow. Their members are forced to buy remote ID modules, and therefore, when it comes to new freers, the FAA says, no, your members have got remote ID anyway. We're not going to bother with it anymore. It's not important. And then they go to the other CBOs and say, look, the AMA are all using remote ID. This freer thing was a great idea, but we've decided to cancel it because you don't need it.
Yeah.
That's interesting, Scott.
As a design,
not to pull the rug. It's very interesting. I hear you, Scott. You're right. I hear you.
Design to manufacture in the UK, don't have a route to market.
Yeah, an organisation. I hear you. I hear you.
Trying to get built and designed. I don't understand what's he out to try and do, because we've built and designed our light show drone in the UK, for example, and we've brought it to market. So we've managed to do that. So I'm just wondering what help he needs or what he's trying to do.
But it would be nice if you could go to somebody who would say, right, here's the book of what we think as an organization is a good idea of how to do it, how to make it. Here's a good place to start. And by the way, we'll keep looking after your interests for for forever, or we'll be there to help you.
It's not around.
It's not around. No.
No, sadly, it's not. And it is hard. Don't get me wrong. It's not an easy thing to go from scratch to actually having something that flies and performs well. It's not an easy thing to do.
Well, EASA has only just released their set of specifications in reality, but at least you can build to them there. You can build.
I've read their stuff. I must read it. I must read it because obviously we've got to meet it. So.
But at least it's there. The CAA haven't released that yet. There's an organization.
It would be wrong anyway. They will write it wrong anyway.
It is all ridiculous. I was thinking, well, I missed the opportunity last year. It was it was 12 years since we flew at Farnborough. But somehow the UK's got to catch up, and this, that, and the other. We flew at Farnborough in 2010. I charged the drone that I flew in Farnborough in 2010 from a solar panel. All these things that you see, in the bloody marketing stuff. We did it years ago. 12.
Yeah, what about those guys in Australia with the eVTOL they had over that lake, and Kazza fined them $3,000 or something?
I nearly used the picture of him in the chair for the RID thing for CASA. I nearly used that, but I thought that chap's had enough of a ribbon, so I won't use that. That would have been a picture for those that would have known.
Yeah, and then there's the sausage delivery from Bunnings. Delivery drones are a thing.
Exactly. Yeah, yes, that's I often try and sneak in those sort of images, and then the companies or whatever complain. So I don't use our latest picture. Well, no, because that's when you really screwed up. That's why I put that picture in there. People always complain, but I felt sorry. I did felt sorry for that. Customers are going to cry. ISO, ISO standards and things. Yeah. It's what do we do? How do we form this magical organization that suddenly has money and is able to lobby, and everyone?
Well, don't look to the hobby.
I did see David's RFI for the NPAS drones, and I can't see anything from the UK that's going to meet at the moment. That's going to meet his requirements, and I certainly wouldn't want to fly anything that's come out of. Like all the things that my chum flies out of a Chinese factory that you have to completely rewire and completely change the software on if you really want it to work properly. It's
the problem is in the UK you could build a 5-meter drone. You can build it here, but the one thing you cannot do here. So if you wanted a nice aircraft here, anything over 3 meters, for example, you would have to literally build it here. Then you take it to an EU country to fly it, because flying it here,
Ireland,
isn't possible.
Yep.
Funny enough, that's where they go typically.
The thing that annoys me most is all these regulators are saying we're forward focused and we're enabling this technology to be developed, and then they're going to do exactly the opposite. They constrain, restrict, and regulate to the point where people have nowhere to do this stuff except it's Ireland. We'll go to Ireland. I know Maynard Hill went to Ireland with his drone.
He did.
It's far too expensive as well. The problem is it's prohibited. I can't say the word. It's just so expensive here. That word that's prohibited. I can't say it. So that word
excessively.
It's just so expensive to do anything here. Do you know what I mean? If you found a nice little place that's quiet, you're out the way. Oh, can I test flight here? Oh, no, you can't do that. You need about this much paperwork, which becomes this much paperwork. Don't fit on the screen. And it's just so hard. It's just crazy. It should be a simple way to test this stuff and fly it.
Remember that crowd that came on here from New Zealand? They got that open sky, whatever it was, that the area that was set aside for drone testing and things, and it was all a flight zone. But it was completely and utterly useless because you still had to get all the permissions and all the get all the things from the CAA to do it. So it's just the same as flying down your local park, basically. So what they need to do is create areas, corridors, which is happening in some areas of the world, where you can say the standard aviation drone rules don't apply here. So we can do things here, as long as we stay within the boundaries, that would be illegal to do anywhere else. Without having to get the permissions and the special operating certificates and things, that would massively improve the rate of innovation.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. You couldn't even be. Oh, I love it. You can see the Welsh corridor there somewhere.
Probably I was going to mention that then when you said that. But the
problem is, if you want to fly in that, you still need all the CA permissions, as Bruce says. It's not somewhere you could just go with your aircraft and fly.
This is where he's talking about here.
Yeah, you still have to fly.
Yeah.
But then you look how much it would cost to fly there for a day, right? And I tell you now, you'll wince because it's just bonkers. It should be possible to fly this stuff out of the way in Class G airspace and just, get on with it in a safe manner. They are coming up with this innovation centres. I don't know if you saw the release from CAA. They want these innovation centres. I took one look at it. The problem is you can build your innovation centre. You can have your innovation centre. But guess what? Without the permissions to do all the lovely stuff you want to do at that innovation centre, forget it, because you still have to follow all the rules. If you want to fly a swarm at that innovation centre, forget it. You need that CA permission. You want to fly something over 25 kilos, forget it. You have to have the permissions to do it. You want to drop something from that aircraft, forget it. You have to have permission from the CAA. It is bonkers. These innovation
centres. Those innovation places up here, isn't it? It's near Aylesbury. It's one of these.
New
Westcott. There it is, Westcott.
Yeah. It's like saying to a Formula One team, you can develop your cars, but you've got a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit and you've got to give way to all traffic, and all the normal road rules apply when you're trying to develop your race cars.
There, Westcott. That's one of the places, isn't it? That's a pretty poor place to have it. Look, right on the end of Luton's runway. But where I wanted to go, and they're talking about in the comments the NPAS thing. So I jokingly said I'd like one of those very nice Swiss tilt rotor things. And based at Compton Abbas. Compton Abbas is a lovely, lovely, lovely little airfield, and not far from James May's pub. And it would be lovely to sit there. And I thought it would have a reasonable range. Well, that's 30 minutes flight time. That's an hour, and that's an hour and a half. I mean, that's a pretty good place to be based.
Here's the thing: the NPAS stuff is interesting because sadly, it probably won't be a UK-built aircraft. The sad thing is, right, because if you want something that they would want, it would have to be bespoke built in the UK. There's only a few that can build stuff like that. But the problem is then it's testing the damn thing. Because again, you can build it, but the OSC that would be needed to fly it will be bonkers. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. The police.
Well, you haven't got. It's not legal over there yet to rebroadcast radio calls. I couldn't rebroadcast with my flight radio telephony operator's license. I couldn't rebroadcast my radio calls, because that would get rid of a load of problems in an instant. Hello, here I am. I'm going from here to there. I'm at this height. Hello. And continue so on and so forth. So that's not even set in stone yet. So they're miles away from stuff that would actually be useful. And then you just fly as an aircraft, but from the ground. From there's some lovely pubs. I'll tell you where the pubs are. Some lovely pubs all around here. But no, of course you wouldn't need to be at an airfield. And you could go into all sorts of places with this contract. Well, there's a lot of things they've got to sort out first. There really is.
The good news is, right, NPAS, because it used to be at Doncaster Airport until it shut. They used to have a lot of planes there, and I think helicopters, but I can't remember. But the planes were there. However, they didn't fly that often because the pilots weren't available, because the pilots they just couldn't afford them. And they come into the police force, and then they end up doing other things. So there used to be a Donny Airfield, but all the police HQs will create great areas, because police HQs in the UK are quite big, so you could quite happily have plenty of landing space for them, for the VTOLs if they were to have them. But it's just, yeah.
Well, I mean, thinking of devices straight away. That's right in town. Show that same map for Australian airspace. It's all on the edge, isn't it? And Barton's right. It's for commercial reasons, seemingly ignorant lawmakers. Government do not want democratized aerial observation. That might very well be the point. And I certainly know Thales and stuff like that will be all over David's proposal, because for years they've been wanting to have large platforms in orbits over the UK 24 hours a day, and if the police need something, they'll fly it towards whatever that task is and give them the data. If the fire service needs something, they'll fly it to that site and get the data. Yeah, Doncaster did used to have them. Didn't they nearly put the Vulcan off the end of the runway at Doncaster when they moved it the other day or something? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and Doncaster was Finningley. I went to it when it was Finningley back in the day.
Well, do you know why Finningley was always kept open then, all the way through the 80s and 90s and stuff?
A very nice bar.
Do you know why it was kept open for such a long time though? And they didn't shut it. Do you know why?
Why? Go on.
Because if the shuttle ever had to land in Europe, in this neck of the woods, it was the longest runway we had that could take it nicely. And that was why, because it was nice and easy for it to should be able to get in. So it was on the right, if you like, if it come out of orbit incorrectly, it was the right area. But the runway is that long at Finningley because it's one of the biggest.
It was a MEDA, yeah. It was a Master Emergency Diversion airfield. Well, that's for the Vulcans because they needed like 15 miles to take off when heavy laden. And Patrick's saying commercial space is becoming cheaper. It's interesting that the commercial LiDAR from space is coming. That's going to be very interesting. I think it's only like 5 or 10 centimeters resolution, but for rapid, it'll be very interesting when that arrives. Well, we've definitely spoken around the houses here, and we're at 1 hour and 10, so I think we should call the hammer on this. At Fairford, also Boscombe Down. There was all that, and Manston was the other one. Manston was so flipping wide, you could almost take off going across it with most things, and that was because that was. Yeah, it was a big comeback here and crash from Europe in the Second World War. That's why it was enormous, and they used to end up with so many wrecks on it that they had to close it because they had so many. And Shannon, yeah, lots of places was there for that. I mean, shuttles, but the meters. I think we had 7 meters, if I remember rightly. I can't. It's a long time ago now. Goodness knows where these aircraft go these days.
So it is. If it was hijacked, it will go to Stansted.
That's Stansted, yeah.
Yeah, it will go there. It was parked at the end of the runway. There's no discussion by anyone. That's where it goes, and it wouldn't matter what anyone tried to do. The jets will get you there.
So they couldn't use Gatwick because there's bound to be a drone there.
There will be a drone, so you wouldn't want exactly. You wouldn't want to go in there.
Well, I've got Scampton just up from me.
Yes,
an asylum centre. It's about
yes.
Look, I see two airliners crashing into each other again this week. Those eagle-eyed pilots, those airline pilots.
What was that? I missed that one.
Oh yes, reversing it.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't hear the reversing.
The beeping, beep beep.
Yeah. Ground crew, wasn't it? It was ground crew to reverse the plane into another plane that was parked. It's like, come on.
I think I'm right in saying, but could be very wrong, that there have been at least 7 fatals every week in America this year. 1 a day every week for where are we at? We're in June, aren't we? And very sadly, that guy in.
Well, there's a statistic they haven't revealed. Now, I want to know how many of those pilots had drones in their wardrobes. Could be they're bound to be a factor in that.
And that Flying Alaska guy sadly passed away, didn't he? Old Tweeter. So that was sad. Anyway, on that note, I think it's definitely time to go. Any more before we go? Going once, going twice, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world. Look after yourselves. We'll see you again, 2100 GMT. And if anyone would like in the comments to pin the tail on the donkey of which country's going to call for remote ID this coming week, then please do. See you all again next week. Cheers, everybody. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye. There's one.